Look into my mind's eye and grasp this with seriousness. The mirror was never just glass and reflection. It is a symbolic portal, a boundary between the visible and the invisible, between what you believe yourself to be and what you dare to claim. When you stand before it, you're not just looking at a face marked by time or life's events. You are faced with the opportunity to see the state you choose to inhabit. The mirror doesn't show you who you are today, but who you decide to be from within. This is the essence of the techniques. The mirror technique is not a childish trick, nor an empty ritual. It is a call to discipline, to the courage to affirm without wavering, and to the silence of one who needs no external approval. Because before the mirror, you don't speak to others, you speak to the invisible, which is the origin of all forms. A single word, chosen and repeated with authority, can rewrite your destiny. It is not the number of phrases, but the intensity of the assumed state that makes reality bend. And I tell you, that word is now, because everything you desire doesn't belong to an uncertain tomorrow, nor a distant horizon. It is here. It already exists. It has already been given. When you pronounce now, you are not pleading for something that might come. You are commanding the universe to obey what is already yours by divine right. By saying now, you cancel waiting. You destroy the illusion of time that imprisons the human mind. You declare that abundance does not need to be sought because it is already within you. You affirm that love, healing, prosperity, or any other desire do not depend on external circumstances, but only on the state you assume in silence. That is why you must keep this word a secret. If you share it before it takes root, you divide the energy, you weaken the seed. But when you keep it, it creates deep roots in the invisible, and sooner or later, the invisible becomes flesh. There were those who practiced this technique with absolute conviction, repeating now before the mirror as one seals a decree. And in just 7 days, something that seemed impossible happened. $50,000 came to this person as a natural response to the assumed state. It was not chance, it was not luck, it was not an external miracle. It was the law obeying the internal command. The law does not ask if you deserve it, nor does it calculate if it is possible. It merely reflects what you maintain. Therefore, understand this. Each time you stand before the mirror and pronounce now, do not make it a trial but a certainty. Don't say it to test, say it to decree. Don't use it as a fragile wish, use it as a firm command. The mirror reflects not the face you have, but the state you assume. And when you assume it with conviction, the world outside has no choice. It bends and obeys. The first principle is this: everything you see out there is merely a shadow of what you have already accepted within yourself. This means that the external world has no power of its own. It merely reflects, like a larger mirror, what you have decided to maintain in your imagination. Most people look at circumstances as if they were solid, definitive, as if they represented immutable truth. But I tell you, they are just shadows, fleeting forms that obey the inner state. It is like the reflection of a flame projected onto a wall. The wall may seem real, the shadow may seem alive, but nothing happens there that has not first been commanded by the light that projects it. Such is your life. When you look at debts, failures, illnesses, or loneliness and believe that is all there is, you become a prisoner of the shadows. But when you understand that these external scenarios are merely projections of assumed states, you awaken to your power to change the light. Before the physical mirror, this truth is revealed with even greater force. There you see not only the face that time has molded, but the direct reflection of how you perceive yourself. If you look at yourself and see weakness, it is that image that expands into the world. If you look at yourself and see defeat, it is that same vibration that finds support out there. But if you dare to see yourself as a winner, as abundant, as complete, then inevitably reality begins to bend. The word now enters here like a hammer that breaks delay. Because when you pronounce it, you are saying there is no waiting, no distant future, no external condition that needs to be met first. You affirm that you already are, already possess, already live. This is more than positive thinking. Superficial thoughts do not change destiny. It is a deep acceptance, a silent decree that the only truth is the one you choose to hold in your consciousness. You can spend years saying, "One day I will achieve it," and that day never comes. Because by saying one day, you push the desire to a tomorrow that never arrives. But by saying now, you interrupt the cycle of waiting. The universe knows neither past nor future. It only responds to the present state. Therefore, if your state is one of waiting, you will continue to wait. But if your state is one of possession, you begin to reap. Those who doubt this principle usually ask, "But what about the facts? And the evidence that surrounds me? Isn't it an illusion to deny reality?" And I answer, what you call reality is merely the delayed result of what you have sustained before. If today you see lack, it is because at some point you accepted lack within yourself. The mistake is to believe that this is definitive. Denying appearances is not madness, it is wisdom. Madness is to believe that shadows have power over light. True insanity is to value what is mutable more than what is eternal. Before the mirror, practice this principle. Do not cling to the physical face, nor to what your eyes point to as a limit. See beyond. See yourself inhabiting the state you desire. Repeat, "now," and allow this word to break the illusion of time. You are not trying to become something. You already are. The reflection may take time to appear, but the law does not fail. If you maintain the state of abundance, sooner or later, the external shadow will have to reorganize itself. This is the first and most essential understanding. The world is a reflection, never a cause. The cause is always in the state you accept in silence. He who understands this no longer begs from life but commands it, and it is in this understanding that true freedom begins. The second principle is silence. It is here that many stumble, because in every human being there is a desire to share, to tell others what they are doing, to seek external validation and approval. But understand clearly, the power of a seed lies in being buried in the earth and protected until it germinates. If you dig up the soil every day to show the seed to someone, it will never take root. The same happens with the state you assume before the mirror. The word "now" only becomes flesh when it is kept as a secret pact between you and the invisible. The more you speak, the more you divide your energy. The more silent you are, the more you concentrate. And the universe responds to concentration, not to dispersion. You may feel the temptation to tell. Perhaps you want to tell a friend, a relative, or even post on social media for others to believe in you. But when you do this, you surrender your conviction to the doubts of others. People project their own fears, their own limitations, and without realizing it, you allow them to contaminate your seed. Silence, on the other hand, creates a closed, impenetrable field. It becomes like a shield, protecting the command until it blossoms in the visible world. Understand that it is not the external world that needs to believe, it is you. It doesn't matter if everyone around you laughs, doubts, or says it's impossible. What determines what will be manifested is the state you maintain within yourself. When you say "now" before the mirror, and keep that word only to yourself, the invisible begins to work in your favor without interference. This secret is not a burden, but a source of power. It is in silence that conviction deepens. It is in silence that faith becomes unshakable. Even the scriptures point to this principle. How many times do we see great acts of faith accompanied by instructions to keep quiet, not to speak, to wait in secret? The power is not in shouting to the world, but in decreeing in silence and allowing the world in due time to see the result. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your reflection will be the proof, your life will be the testimony. Silence is not emptiness, it is gestation. Therefore understand, each time you stand before the mirror, pronounce "now" as one who decrees, and then be silent. Do not comment, do not spread, do not share. Let the invisible work, let the root deepen. Just as a tree makes no noise as it grows, so too will your new reality rise in silence, until the day it can no longer be hidden. Silence is the guardian of your creation. He who learns to be silent before men speaks with authority before the universe. This is how the law obeys. This is how the invisible becomes flesh. The third principle is inner persistence. Many start enthusiastically, but give up when the external world seems to shout the opposite of what they have decided to assume. Understand once and for all, visible reality is slow. It always arrives late in relation to what has already been decreed within. If today you look around and see limitations, debts, failures, or illness, do not be mistaken in thinking that this is definitive. It is merely the echo of an old state you maintained. The mistake is to look at this echo and treat it as truth. The wise person does not bow to appearances. They pass through them with conviction. When you stand before the mirror and pronounce now, you are declaring that you no longer accept postponement. You are saying it's not tomorrow, it's not a distant day, it's not after something happens, it's now. But the external world, accustomed to the old reflection, will try to challenge you. It is at this moment that many abandon the practice, for they believe more in what their eyes show than in what consciousness has decreed. Persistence is not yielding to this temptation. Persistence is repeating the word even when everything seems to contradict it. Persistence is maintaining the state as one who knows that the law does not fail. Think of a seed planted in the earth. In the first few days, you look at the soil and see nothing. It seems that absolutely nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, life is organizing itself, the invisible order is in motion. Yet those who give up early never see the tree emerge. So it is with your word. Now is acting in the invisible, even if your eyes do not perceive it. It is up to you to remain firm until the fruit appears. Inner persistence does not mean repeating mechanically, without feeling. It means returning to certainty every time doubt tries to infiltrate. It means maintaining the emotional state of already possessing, even if your senses say otherwise. It is a silent discipline, a courage to remain in the position of one who has already received. It is not fighting against circumstances, it is ignoring them as fleeting illusions. What is seen today is temporary. What is sustained in consciousness is eternal. The mirror becomes your ally in this process, because each time you look at yourself and reaffirm now, you renew the root of certainty. You nourish the invisible image until it becomes so real within you that no external evidence can shake it. This is the secret of persistence, maintaining the state until reality bends. It is not about forcing, but about remaining. He who persists wins. He who does not give up proves the law. Therefore, do not be deluded by delays. Do not surrender to appearances. Do not undo what you decreed because of a shadow. Continue, insist, remain firm in the invisible, because the invisible has already obeyed. The visible has just not caught up yet. To persist is to hold victory in silence until the world with no alternative must display it. This is the strength of the third principle. The fourth principle is emotion. Many believe that simply repeating a word, as if it were an empty mantra, will cause transformation to happen on its own. But the law does not respond to hollow words. It responds to the inner state. The word is merely the key that opens the door. What passes through is the emotion you sustain. When you stand before the mirror and pronounce now, you should not do so coldly or mechanically. You need to involve your whole body, whole mind, and whole soul in that instant, as if you were already living the desired reality. It is the vibration of feeling that imprints the decree upon the invisible. Imagine for a moment that what you desire is already yours. Close your eyes behind the word and feel the relief of one who has already won. Breathe as one who already possesses what seemed impossible. Walk around the room as if you were someone already inhabiting abundance. When you say now and allow your heart to race, your skin to feel the vibration, your voice to carry authority, you are not just speaking, you are transforming yourself. The mirror becomes a witness to your new identity. Emotion is the seal that authenticates the command. Without it, the decree is fragile and can be erased by doubt. With it, the decree fastens like a deep root, impossible to be torn out. That is why you should not treat this moment as an automatic repetition, but as a sacred encounter with yourself. Each time you pronounce now, make it a complete experience. Mentally see the images of what you desire. Hear the sounds of the life you are already living. Feel in your body the pleasure and joy of having achieved it. It doesn't matter if it's not yet physically before you. What matters is that it has already become real within. This is how the law works. It doesn't bring you what you ask for in desperation, but what you feel as already possessed. He who feels lack receives more lack. He who feels fear attracts more fear. But he who feels fullness inevitably calls fullness to himself. Emotion is the language that the invisible understands. It does not lie, does not pretend, does not invent. If within you there is gratitude and certainty, this echoes in the universe as an undeniable command. Therefore, when you are before the mirror, don't just say, "now." Feel it. Let this word ignite your heart. Let your breathing change, your body respond, your mind settle. With each repetition, do not ask, declare. Do not plead, command. The secret is not in how many times you pronounce it, but in how deeply you feel it. Because the external world is not moved by memorized phrases, but by felt conviction. Emotion is the fire that gives life to the decree, and without fire, no creation sustains itself. The fifth principle is absolute trust. This is where many fail, because they want to control not only what they desire, but also how and when it should manifest. The anxious mind insists on calculating paths, observing external signs, checking if it's already working. But the law does not need your anxiety, it needs your certainty. When you say the word "now" before the mirror, you are decreeing that it already is, and this decree cannot be revoked by doubt. Absolute trust is what seals the creation and prevents doubt from undoing what has already been planted. Think of a farmer who casts a seed into the earth. He doesn't keep digging up the soil every day to check if the root is sprouting. He knows that the seed is working in the invisible, even without visible signs. He waters, he protects, but he never doubts the process. In the same way, you should act with your word. When you pronounce "now" and feel as if it is already real, you should rest in trust. Do not seek proof, do not demand immediate signs, do not set deadlines for what is already fulfilled in the invisible. Your role is not to monitor the process, but to maintain the state. Absolute trust requires you to surrender control. It does not mean passivity, but rather steadfastness. You continue living, making decisions, acting in the world, but without the anguish of one who doubts. You know that it is already done, even if your eyes have not yet seen it. This knowing is what accelerates manifestation. He who doubts paralyzes. He who observes with anxiety delays. But he who trusts and continues to live in peace, sooner or later witnesses the impossible bend. This trust is silent and serene. It needs no public demonstration, no justifications. It simply remains. When you look at the mirror and say, "now," the decree has been made. The universe has already received the command. The only thing that can interrupt this process is your own doubt. Therefore, guard your mind. Whenever doubt appears, return to the state. Reaffirm in silence, but without anxiety. Absolute trust is like a lion that sleeps in peace, because it knows nothing can threaten it. Understand, the law does not fail. The only variable is your conviction. If you trust, the result will be inevitable. It may not come the way you expect, it may not appear in the form you imagine, but it will always come, because the invisible obeys the decree sustained with faith. Therefore, learn to rest in, "it is already done." This is the essence of the fifth principle. Before the mirror, say "now" and live as if it were true. The rest is no longer your responsibility. Trust is the final seal, what transforms the seed into a tree, the word into flesh, the invisible into palpable reality. Therefore, we arrive at the final call. Now that you know the 5 principles, there are no more excuses to live like a beggar before life, waiting for something external to come and rescue you. The law has already been revealed. Everything you see is a reflection of what you maintain within. Silence protects the seed. Persistence keeps the flame alive. Emotion gives life to the decree, and absolute trust seals the creation. The mirror is before you not to show wrinkles or marks of time, but to remind you that external reality is merely a shadow. True power lies in the state you assume. Therefore, do not go out asking. Do not beg for signs. Do not implore for change. Stand before the mirror, pronounce "now," and allow this word to become an unshakable decree. Feel as if you have already received. Keep silent. Persist even when everything seems contrary. Warm your heart with the emotion of victory. And finally, rest in trust. The world will have no choice but to bow before what you have maintained within yourself. Remember, You are not a victim, you are not a hostage to circumstances, you are a creator, and everything has already been given. The mirror is merely the place where you reconcile with this eternal truth. So go, choose your position, assume the state, pronounce the word, and see the invisible becoming flesh. Because the law does not fail, and the time to manifest is not tomorrow. It is always the same. It is now. Stop looking for the extraordinary outside yourself. While you chase after signs, miracles, and proofs, you forget that everything that happens to you, be it triumph or misery, is merely the shadow of what you silently accepted within yourself. The world doesn't make mistakes. It has no will of its own. It merely reflects like a cold mirror what you have held as real in your innermost being. And this reflection is merciless, for it doesn't respond to what you declare with your mouth, but to the state you dare to carry in your heart. Life never argues with you, never. It doesn't listen to your complaints, nor your pleas, nor the long speeches with which you try to convince it. Life is not a judge to whom you must present arguments. It is a servant that merely obeys the silent command emanating from your being. That's why so many pray without seeing answers, ask without receiving, cry out without change. Because while the lips speak one thing, the inner state screams another. And it is this hidden scream, often unconscious, that life hears and reproduces. And look back, look at the events of your history. Every victory, every loss, every encounter, and every failure was not by chance, nor bad luck, nor blind fortune. Everything was aligned with the inner posture you maintained. You may even have believed certain things were imposed upon you, but no, you allowed them by inhabiting the state that corresponded to them. Just as a shadow doesn't move without the body, your life isn't shaped without the state you occupy. And this is where few have the courage to face the truth. You are a victim of nothing but your own persistence in states you no longer desire. Slavery is not in the facts, but in the habit of always recognizing yourself in the same inner place. This is the most subtle prison, living by repeating states you could abandon at any instant, but don't, because you've learned to call I that which was never you. If you insist on searching outside, you will always be like a beggar at the door of a banquet. That unknowingly is within your own house. Everything is already prepared, but you keep waiting for the dish to arrive from others' hands. You don't realize that the only key that opens the doors lies in what you decide to assume as true. Now understand, the world you call reality is not solid, not fixed, not immutable. It is as malleable as clay. But this clay does not yield to fragile requests or lukewarm hopes. It only obeys the firm touch of a state assumed with conviction. When you settle into this state, when you wear it like a second skin, the entire world begins to silently reorganize itself to reflect what you have become within. And if everything that exists outside is a reflection, why keep looking out there for what will never come from within? You don't have problems. What you call a problem is merely the name you give to the reflection of a state you yourself maintained within. The world creates nothing on its own. It only responds. Debt is not debt. It is the echo of a state of scarcity you carried. Illness is not illness. It is the reflection of a state of fragility you assumed, consciously or not. Loneliness is not loneliness. It is the return of a state in which you saw yourself as separated, rejected, or unworthy of companionship. Life has no autonomy to impose anything on you. It only delivers impersonally and perfectly the harvest of the seed you silently planted. It's hard to face this because it means there are no excuses, no victims, no one else to blame. But at the same time, it is liberating. Because if the root is within you, the power to uproot and plant anew is also there. You can spend years trying to resolve the effect and remain trapped. You extinguish one flame here, another appears there, because the cause was never external. People fight symptoms and forget the source. It's like someone who sees a crooked reflection in the mirror and tries to fix the glass instead of adjusting their own posture. It's no use chasing new opportunities, new doctors, new relationships, if your inner state remains the same. Life only changes when you change your state, not when you change your scenery. The state is an invisible garment you choose to wear. It's not about what you casually think, nor what you say you believe. It's the silent conviction that accompanies you when no one is watching. It's how you perceive yourself, what you take for granted. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles to achieve, that is the state. If you see yourself as someone constantly rejected, that is the state. And the world obedient will make sure to bring about episodes that confirm the image you yourself decided to wear. Changing states is not a task for a moment of euphoria, but for a firm decision. It's not an imaginary escape, but an inner repositioning. When you decide to inhabit another state, everything begins to dissolve. What seemed solid loses its grip, like mist dissipating with the sun. Debt loses its weight, because it no longer corresponds to the new state. Illness loses its hold, because it no longer finds fertile ground in your consciousness. Loneliness loses its voice, because it no longer finds an echo in one who recognizes themselves as complete. It is at this point that you realize there were no problems in themselves, but merely states you carried and have now let go of. The great illusion is to believe that you need something external to change your state. The weak mind thinks, when I have money, then I will feel prosperous. When I find someone, then I will feel loved. When I am healed, then I will feel healthy. But this is the inverted path. The state creates the fact, never the other way around. You dress yourself first, and only then does the world adapt. That's why many never change their lives. They wait for the reflection before changing the body. If you understand this truth, there will be no more despair. Change is not miles away, nor does it depend on special circumstances. It is found in a sustained thought, in a decision to remain in a new self-recognition. The state is the true soil of life. Plant in it and you will see the fruits. Change it and you will see the entire world reorganize itself. Don't fight against shadows. Don't call a problem that which is merely a reflection. Assume another state, and the reflection will have no choice but to follow. This is law, and law does not fail. What your eyes show you is not the truth. It is merely the delayed effect of what you have already carried within. External reality always lags a few steps behind the inner state, like an echo that takes time to dissipate. But people deceive themselves and take this delay as definitive. They look at the lack of money and say, "It's proven, I am poor." They look at the sick body and conclude, "This is what I am." They look at the absence of opportunities and accept, "Destiny has closed the doors on me." Thus they kneel before appearances, without realizing that appearances are merely the aged reflection of an old state. The Creator does not negotiate with facts. If you surrender to what you see, you condemn yourself to live off the remnants of the past. Everything before your eyes is a portrait of who you once were, not who you are now. And yet most accept this portrait as a sentence and confirm it with thoughts, feelings, and words. It's like looking in a mirror and believing that the reflected image can decide who you are, when in fact the image only exists because there was first a body before it. It's not about denying reality, but about not bowing to it. To deny would be to flee. To transcend is to remain unshaken. It is to look at lack and in silence affirm within yourself, "I am already abundance." It is to look at illness and declare inwardly, "I am already health." It is to face emptiness and maintain, "I am already complete." You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. You only need to remain faithful to the assumed state, even when everything around seems to mock you. This is the test that separates the few who awaken from the slumbering crowd. Because the world, before it surrenders, almost always presents resistance. It's like a wall that rises, not because it's indestructible, but to test if you truly desire to cross. Many retreat at this point, returning to submit to the visible. Few sustain the vision until the end, and these are the ones who see the impossible bend before their silent persistence. Understand, there is no power in the fact. It only seems solid because you forgot that you were the one who summoned it by inhabiting the corresponding state. The power is in the root, not the fruit. If the root changes, the fruit will inevitably have to change too. And if the root is invisible, you don't need to wait for the visible to give any sign to reposition yourself. The Creator doesn't await approval from evidence. They create it. Do not kneel before external evidence. Each time you bow to what you see, you strengthen the prison. But each time you remain faithful to the invisible you've chosen, even when nothing confirms it, You create space for the world to be compelled to yield. Courage is not about winning a war out there. Courage is about remaining unshaken within yourself until the scenario bends to the assumed state. This is the path of those who dare to create instead of react. Imagining is not playing with loose images, nor creating stories to escape reality. Imagining is decreeing. It is the act of molding, in silence and repetition, that which the world will inevitably be forced to reflect. Many confuse imagination with fantasy, and thus remain stuck in the same place. Fantasy is fragile, fleeting, it doesn't take root. It's like a waking dream that serves only as temporary relief. Creative imagination, on the contrary, is persistent, dense, filled with conviction. It doesn't ask, doesn't wish, doesn't plead, it establishes. When you imagine as if reliving a memory, in detail, feeling the weight and flavor of the scene, you are planting a seed in the invisible ground. And this seed, if watered by disciplined repetition, grows until it becomes inevitable. The mistake of most is to imagine once, feel inspired for an instant, and then immediately return to living and thinking as before. It's like casting a seed into the earth and abandoning it without water, without care, expecting it to blossom by chance. Effective imagination demands return, demands continuity, until the internal scene is more vivid than any external evidence. Have you noticed how old memories still affect you, even if the facts themselves disappeared years ago? A smell, a song, or a word can rekindle in seconds an emotion that seems more real than the present moment. This happens because the mind doesn't distinguish between what it has experienced and what it assumes as experienced. When you imagine correctly, you create anticipated memories. The body responds as if it were already true. The heart beats differently. The mind organizes itself in another way. And even your actions change effortlessly because you already see yourself in another place. This is the secret. Imagining is not creating something distant. It is bringing the future into yourself until it becomes a lived past. The external world, slow and obedient, merely follows what you have already established within. That is why discipline is so vital. It's not enough to feel it once. You must return to it, like someone who daily visits a house already built, until it becomes the natural address of your consciousness. Some say, "But I can't believe what I imagine." It doesn't matter. You don't immediately believe painful memories either, but they invade and dominate you until you surrender to them. Creative imagination works the same way. The more you return to the chosen scene, the more weight it gains, until your mind can no longer distinguish it from a real fact. At that point, the external world no longer has a choice. It simply bends. Know this, the universe does not respond to the intensity of your desire, but to the constancy of your imagination. To desire is to wait, to imagine is to decree. One who desires confesses absence. One who imagines with firmness already inhabits possession. And the law does not respond to those who implore, but to those who assume. That is why the world bows only to those who dare to imagine as owners, not as beggars. Therefore imagine not as one who flees, but as one who builds. Repeat, insist, sustain, until the scene becomes inevitable within you. When this happens, the exterior will have no choice but to obey. Because what is decreed in the invisible cannot be erased in the visible. It is law. Words change nothing by themselves. You can recite beautiful phrases, pray for hours, repeat affirmations in front of the mirror until you lose your voice. If the inner state remains the same, everything will be in vain. The universe does not respond to the sound of your mouth, but to the silent vibration you sustain as being you. That's why so many cry out and don't receive, ask and don't see change, because even if the lips say, "I am prosperous," the heart murmurs, "I am needy." Even if the mouth declares, "I am loved," the inner being insists, "I am rejected." Even if they repeat, "I am healthy," the body vibrates with the fear of illness. Life ignores what you say and obeys what you are. The state is more powerful than 1,000 words. It is silent, yet absolute. You can even deceive others, you can even deceive yourself for a time, but you cannot deceive the law. The law only recognizes your vibration, what you truly embody. There's no way to trick the reflection. The mirror does not bend to rhetoric. It merely shows the form you present to it. Look at the religious who pray unceasingly. Look at the optimists who fill their minds with motivational phrases. Look at the desperate who implore for divine favor. And notice how many remain in the same place. This happens because loose words possess no creative power. They are just empty shells. What gives life to a word is the state behind it. When a state is true, the word can even be a whisper and still move worlds. But when the state is false, not even the most fervent shout has an effect. The error of most is to believe that the word, repeated without substance, will convince reality. But reality doesn't need to be convinced. It needs to be molded, and only the state does that. Words can accompany the state. They can reinforce it, but never replace it. The silent command always prevails. That is why often you don't need to say anything to anyone. You can keep your decree in silence, without witnesses, without explanations. Because it is not human ears that need to listen. It is the invisible law that needs to recognize the vibration. If you settle into the state of abundance, health, love without opening your mouth, the world will still respond. People around you will begin to treat you according to that state. Opportunities will arise, doors will open, because everything moves from the inside out. The power was never in the external form of prayer, in the cadence of an affirmation, or in the choice of the right words. The power is in the inner recognition, in the silent state you dare to wear like a second skin. Words can fail, can contradict, can stumble. The state does not fail. The state is law. Therefore, do not be deceived by speeches. What transforms is not what you speak, but what you are. It's not the phrases written in notebooks. It's not the memorized prayers. It's not the promises shouted to the sky. What moves the universe is the silent state you hold as true. As long as you don't change your state, no word will have an effect. But when the state is changed, even in absolute silence, the entire reality bows. What separates those who harvest from those who always give up is persistence. To persist is not simply to wait. It is to inhabit the chosen state as if there were no alternative, as if there were no other path than the one already decreed within yourself. The world will test your firmness. It will present contrary signs, mock your vision, place circumstances before you that seem to confirm the opposite. Not because the law fails, but because the old reflection is still active, trying to convince you to return to the old state. Most yield at this point. They observe the contradictions, become discouraged, tell themselves it's not working. And at that instant, they return to the previous state, strengthening the cycle they so desired to break. But the few who persist understand that these resistances are merely shadows of the past, echoes of old states that haven't fully dissipated yet. They know that the invisible is already formed, and it is up to them only to sustain it until the visible yields. To persist is to refuse to negotiate with appearances. It is to not let yourself be seduced by despair, by haste, by the world's logic. It is to be firm within, even when everything outside screams the opposite. Persistence demands a silent courage, different from the courage the world admires. It's not about confronting visible enemies nor tearing down external obstacles. It is to resist the temptation to doubt, to give up, to succumb to fear. It is to remain faithful to the assumed state, like one guarding an invisible treasure that no one else can see. It is to walk each day in the certainty that you already are, even when life still seems not to have received the message. This is the point where many fail. They believe for an instant, but do not sustain it. They declare it for a day, but deny it the next. They enter the desired state, but soon allow their senses to pull them out of it. It's like a farmer who plants and, seeing no fruit the next morning, uproots the seed and starts over indefinitely. No harvest comes from such instability. The true creator does not measure by time, does not calculate deadlines. They persist. They know that reality has no choice because the law cannot be broken. If the state has been firmly assumed, the world is obliged to bow. Perhaps not at the pace your impatience demands, but in the perfect time for the reflection to reorganize itself. Persist even when they mock you. Persist even when nothing confirms your vision. Persist even when the world's silence seems like a denial. Because it is precisely at this point that the old state is dying and the new one is about to be born. Persistence is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Those who retreat never cross. Those who persist always arrive. And when you arrive, you discover that it wasn't the world that changed first. It was you. The state was already real before any proof. The world merely came to confirm what you sustained until the end. To persist is to win without a fight, to conquer without effort, to be faithful to what you already are until there is no alternative but to see the impossible become inevitable. Listen carefully. The time has come to abandon the posture of a beggar before life. You have spent too much time waiting for signs, praying for something to descend from heaven, asking for circumstances to take pity on you. But life is not a capricious master. It is an obedient servant. It never argued with you, it never denied you anything. It merely responded to the state you held as true. The world was never your enemy. It was always your mirror. Now understand, everything is already within you. There is nothing to conquer out there, only to assume in here. You don't need to beg for love, wealth, or health. You need to wear the state of one who already possesses them. You need to walk as an owner, speak as an owner, act as an owner, until the reflection bows. If you continue waiting for reality to give you permission to be, you will remain trapped in the same cycle of absence. But if you dare to assume it in silence, without explanations, without justifications, you will discover that the world has no choice but to obey. Therefore, stop asking. Command, not with empty words, but with the state you hold within your innermost being. Walk from now on as if failure were impossible, because in the law of assumption, to fail is simply not to persist. Everything you desire already is, already exists, is already ready, awaiting only for you to have the courage to inhabit that state without retreating. You are not a spectator of life, you are the source of the life you see. There is no circumstance greater than you. There is no destiny written outside of you. There is only the silent command that emanates from your being and shapes every detail of your experience. So rise and assume it. Not tomorrow, not when the facts seem favorable. Assume it now. Persist. And you will see that the impossible is nothing more than the delayed reflection of a state you dared to sustain until the end. Pause for a moment. Silence the world's noise. Breathe. What you call reality, this sequence of bills, schedules, news, and worries, is merely the echo of something deeper, the reflection of the images you silently hold within yourself. What appears before your eyes is not what truly exists, but what you believe to exist. Every figure in your account, every person on your path, every coincidence of the day, all of it is just the projection of an assumed inner state, consciously or unconsciously. You have been conditioned to think that money comes from outside, from effort, luck, or someone noticing you. But money, like any manifestation, is just a messenger of your inner state. It moves where there is certainty. It avoids where there is doubt. And as long as your mind is divided between I want and but what if it doesn't come, the world will reflect exactly that division. Half-open doors, delayed promises, opportunities that almost happen. Therefore, I ask you, for a single day, try something most people never dare. An entire day without asking, without worrying, without waiting. Just one day assuming everything is already yours. One day acting as if you possess what you once sought. One day feeling worthy of abundance, not as someone desiring a gift, but as someone claiming an inheritance, because that is what it is, a forgotten inheritance. You were made in the image of the Creator. This is not spiritual poetry. It is a law. In the image does not mean appearance, but nature. The Creator imagines, and what is imagined becomes. And if you are made of the same substance, you also create through assumption. The difference is that you forgot. You started to believe more in the bills that arrive than in the ideas that are born within. You began to measure the invisible by the senses, when the visible is merely the shadow of the invisible. Today, you will reverse that order. Today, you will not react to the world, you will command it. Not with arrogance, but with the calm authority of one who knows that everything seen is merely a response. And if it is a response, your state is what asks first. Money, opportunity, change, they do not create themselves, they merely obey what you assume to be true. So be silent. Forget the how and the when. Close your eyes and imagine the end as already achieved. See yourself free, peaceful, prosperous. Feel the relief of one who has already received, the gratitude of one who is already living the result, and sustain that just for one day. You will discover that the universe is not a distant force to be convinced. It is a living, malleable mirror that only knows how to say yes to what you are within. The first principle is simple, but it separates those who live as creators from those who merely survive by reacting to the world. Money does not come when desired. It comes when you become the type of person who naturally possesses it. To desire is to declare to the universe that something is missing. It is to reinforce the state of absence, and the universe, being merely a perfect mirror of what you assume to be, can only give you more of the same, more waiting, more distance, more not yet. Therefore, when you say, "I want prosperity," you push it away because you confess not having it. But when you say, "I am prosperous," without needing proof, you have already changed the state that creates the proofs. It is the being, not the asking, that moves the invisible forces. Many do not understand that money is not a mysterious substance that descends from the sky. It is a vibration, a frequency of consciousness. The poor mind is noisy, doubtful, always looking outward. The rich mind is silent, centered, confident, not because it already has everything, but because it knows that having is merely the reflection of being. And when the being changes, everything that exists is rearranged to obey it. The mistake of almost everyone is trying to attract what they desire while remaining in the same inner state of scarcity. They want a harvest without changing the seed. They want new results with the same old mind. Therefore, the secret is not to work harder, pray more, or force positive thinking. The secret is to mentally inhabit the desired end until it becomes so natural that the world has no choice but to manifest it. When you move through life as someone who already has, your words change, your posture changes, your gaze changes. You stop waiting for the right moment and begin to act coherently with the state of abundance. And this silent coherence is magnetic. It attracts what is in harmony with it. Imagine an actor who, before stepping onto the stage, already fully embodies the character. He doesn't pretend to be, he is. And when he steps into the scene, the audience believes, the scenery comes alive, the story unfolds. It is the same with you. The world is the stage, and the life you live is the role you have chosen to play. If you continue playing the character of lack, the plot will always be the same. But if today, just for one day, you choose the role of abundance, the scenery will begin to shift. So don't ask the universe to give you money. Become the consciousness of one who has it. Feel the weight of the bills in your hands. See the numbers growing in the account. Hear the words approved. It's paid. You did it. Experience the real emotion of achievement, and it will cease to be a dream and become a state. And that state, sustained with faith and constancy, is the supreme decree of creation. The second principle is to understand that imagination is not a distraction from reality. It is reality itself in its invisible phase. Everything that exists in the physical world first existed in the silent field of the mind. Every coin, every house, every idea that once became an empire was born from an inner image sustained until it took form. The problem is that most people use imagination to confirm fear. They imagine debts, failures, rejection, scarcity, and call this worry. The universe, however, does not distinguish whether what you imagine is desired or feared. It merely reflects the image faithfully. Therefore, what you see now in your life is the exact mirror of the dominant images you have cultivated without realizing it. Money does not appear out of nowhere. It is coagulated from the invisible by the power of disciplined imagination. When you imagine something with feeling, you are imprinting a vibrational order in the field of existence. It's as if you were saying, this is what I am. And life obediently begins to move all the pieces, people, circumstances, ideas, so that the inner picture reveals itself in matter. But most people try to imagine the end while still doubting. They want to visualize wealth but carry a constant feeling of lack. They want to imagine success but feel small. And imagination, when contradicted by emotion, nullifies itself. Therefore, the secret lies in feeling what you imagine as something present, not distant. When you close your eyes and feel the warmth of victory, the relief of a paid bill, the joy of seeing a result that once seemed impossible, your subconscious accepts that image as fact. And the subconscious is the worker of creation. It does not question, it merely executes. Dedicate an entire day to this. Imagine the accomplished end and feel the corresponding emotion. Don't visualize money coming. Visualize the state of one who already has it. See yourself free from worries, generous, peaceful, secure. See yourself helping others, laughing at what once distressed you, experiencing the lightness of one who has already triumphed. Don't force it, just allow it. Imagination is the link between the invisible and the visible, the divine and the human, the creator and their creation. When you use it with intention and faith, time bends and the impossible reorganizes itself. The right doors open, opportunities emerge, and the path that once seemed closed begins to reveal itself step by step. Remember, nothing real happens outside before it happens within. Sustain your vision, and the world, like an obedient servant, will bow to the image you kept alive in your mind. The third principle is to completely abandon the habit of reacting to appearances. Everything you see is merely a delayed reflection of what you once believed to be. The visible world is like the light of a star you observe in the sky. It may have ceased to exist millennia ago, but its image still travels to you. So it is with your current reality. It is the old light of mental states you no longer need to sustain. If you look at your bank statement, your debts, the delay of opportunities, and allow this to dictate what is possible, you will be perpetuating the past. The secret lies in not reacting to what has already been created, but in sustaining what is being created now within you. Appearances only have power over those who believe in them. They whisper, "You won't succeed. Things are still the same. Nothing has changed." And if you listen to that voice, you return to the old state, the state of limitation. But when you begin to see beyond appearances, you understand that every limitation is merely a temporary illusion. The invisible is more real than the visible. The invisible is the cause, and the visible merely the effect. He who allows himself to be deceived by the effect relinquishes the power of the cause. Therefore, when circumstances seem contrary, do not fight them. Just look and say in silence, "This is the past dissolving," and return to the inner vision of what you have chosen to be. This is true faith, not believing in something despite the evidence, but knowing that the evidence is merely a delayed shadow of what you have already decided. Faith is not emotion, it is position. It is to remain unshakable while the world adjusts to the new decree. He who lives reacting to the external lives trapped in the cycle of cause and effect. But he who creates from within breaks the cycle and establishes new causes. And the world, sooner or later, bows before him. When you stop looking for signs and start being the sign, everything will change. You will be the very testimony of transformation. So, if your balance is still low, be grateful. It is only showing who you were, not who you are now. Do not weep before scarcity. Smile before the invisible truth that is already fulfilling itself. Sustain your new identity with firmness. Speak, walk, decide, and behave as one who already possesses what they desire. Because, in the eyes of the law, this is already true. And when the new state becomes more real to you than the old reflection, the old disappears, and the invisible finally takes form. The fourth principle is inner persistence. Most people start well, feel enthusiastic in the first few days, but give up as soon as the world doesn't change immediately. And it is at that exact moment that creation stops. The physical universe is dense and slow. It needs constancy to align with the new state. Imagine planting a seed and every day digging up the soil to see if it has sprouted. This action kills the process. Faith is the opposite of that. It is to plant, water with feeling, and remain in silence, knowing that the invisible is already working for you. When you assume a new state, that of prosperity, for example, the old state begins to die. And death in any form is uncomfortable. The external world will test you. It will seem like nothing is happening or that everything is getting worse. People drift away, bills emerge, opportunities vanish. But this is not a setback, it is a cleansing. The universe is removing what does not align with the new being you have chosen to be. If you understand this, you will not be shaken. You remain firm, sustaining the inner state with serenity, because you know that apparent chaos is merely the birth of a new reality. Persistence is not physical effort, it is emotional fidelity. It is to remain feeling the invisible truth, even when everything seems to deny it. When doubt comes, and it will come, remember, the test is always the last step before manifestation. Doubt is not a sign of failure, but an invitation to decide anew. He who reaffirms it is already mine in the midst of the storm, he conquers. The weak react, the Creator remains. Train yourself not to waver. Sustain the new vibration until it becomes your natural state. In the beginning, this will require attention, like keeping a flame lit in the wind. But with time, this flame transforms into a sun, constant, unshakable, self-sufficient. Persistence transforms desire into conviction, and conviction shapes reality. So, when nothing seems to change, do not change yourself. When the silence seems long, continue imagining the end as already achieved. Say to yourself, I know it already is, and return to that state whenever doubt knocks, because it is at that exact moment, when nothing seems to be happening, that everything is happening. Persistence is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. He who crosses without looking back arrives. He who doubts halfway returns to the starting point. Remain steadfast. The world is already yielding, even if you do not yet see it. The fifth principle is recognition. Everything you recognize as true grows, everything you ignore disappears. The universe is a vast consciousness that merely mirrors the content of your own. When you say it's difficult, life agrees. When you say money comes easily, it also agrees. You are the decree, and the world is merely the fulfillment. Most people live reacting to conditions, without realizing that by recognizing them as permanent, they keep them alive. Scarcity is not an enemy to be overcome, it is an illusion that dissolves when you stop recognizing it. Recognition is the seal of creation. It requires no words, only feeling. If within you there is constant recognition that you are prosperous, free, capable, the universe has no choice but to project circumstances that correspond to that state. But if you live recognizing delays, debts, lack, this becomes your altar of adoration, and what is adored grows. Everything you place emotional attention on becomes your God, and life bows before it. Therefore, observe where your attention lies. It is the compass of your creative power. If you spend all day recognizing the problem, you feed it. If you dedicate the same time to recognizing the good, you multiply it. He who understands this law never despairs before appearances. He recognizes only what he wishes to see expanded. Even when everything seems contrary, he maintains focus on the invisible truth that already is. Gratitude is the highest form of recognition. When you sincerely give thanks, you are not asking. You are asserting possession. Giving thanks before receiving is the supreme gesture of faith. It is to say to the universe, I already have it, even if my eyes do not yet see it. And by saying this with conviction, the vision changes. Reality adjusts. So today, make a pact with yourself. Recognize only what you wish to live. Facing any situation, ask yourself, does this reflect what I am or what I was? If it is the past, do not react. If it is the new, expand upon it. The power lies in choosing what to recognize as real. The world is neutral. Your consciousness defines it. When recognition becomes a habit, transformation becomes inevitable. You will begin to see money flow in unexpected ways, not because something external changed, but because the reflection finally aligned with the new image you sustained within. And at that point you will understand. Reality never resisted you. It merely waited for you to remember who you truly are. Now, understand, nothing said here is theory or pretty philosophy. It is law. A law as ancient as existence itself, governing the invisible and the visible, spirit and matter, thought and result. You are not in this world to beg, but to command. Not to supplicate for blessings, but to create them with the power of your own being. Every day you have two choices. to continue reacting to the world of appearances, or to decide in silence to command the universe through the state you choose to inhabit. Stop asking. Stop supplicating external forces to do for you what only your consciousness can decree. The Creator did not give you the gift of imagination to fantasize, but to manifest. The true temple is not in the mountains or in churches, but in your mind. It is there that the invisible becomes flesh. It is there that the impossible bows. So from this moment on, act as one who already has. Speak as one who has already triumphed. Think as one who already is. Walk through life with the certainty that nothing can be denied you, because everything already exists within you, awaiting only recognition. Money, opportunities, love, health, everything is attracted not by effort, but by identity. You do not receive what you want, you receive what you are. Therefore try, just for one day, to live in this truth. A single day without doubt, without waiting, without spiritual beggary. A day where you inhabit the state of wealth, abundance and security, even if the world still shows the opposite. And you will see, the universe will respond. It always responds. Because the law is perfect and faithful, what you assume to be true within yourself, the world confirms outside. Assume then what is noble, what is prosperous, what is worthy of a child of the Most High. And when the mind tries to deceive you with appearances, respond in silence with authority. I am what I decide to be, and everything inferior to that truth will disappear before your eyes. Remember, you are not here to look for signs of power. You are the sign itself. Creation begins and ends in you, and when this truth takes hold in your consciousness, money will come, life will flow, and the impossible will become every day. Because the entire universe bows before one who finally remembers who they are.